All right, well, we're here today with the first podcast, the No Hassle Podcast. My name is Roy Arizmendis, and my co-host is
James St. Jean.
And we're here today from the All Things Services Exterior Cleaning headquarters. And this is the No Hassle Podcast, where we discuss everything from home improvement to self-improvement for the contractor, business owner, and homeowner alike, all formulated specifically to take the hassle out of your day. So we'd like to just welcome everybody here to the first episode. We really just want to talk about who we are. We are an exterior cleaning company located in Gretna, Louisiana, which is just outside of the New Orleans city limits, metro area there, about 7 minutes from the French Quarter. I'm sure people know where that is. We've been in business for going into our 6th year. Mm-hmm. And so over those 6 years, we've gone through a lot of ups and downs, really kind of learning the business, learning our clientele, really kind of growing our philosophy through the ups and downs of those experiences. And so we've kind of adopted a motto, and it's really the no hassle service. And so our goal really as a business is to really take the hassle out of people's life, and so life is full of a lot of complications, a lot of ups and downs. We figured, well, hey, we're consumers as well. We're homeowners. We like to frequent places and spend our money, spend our time at places that they really kind of cater to making it simple for us. I think in a day and age when customer service is really kind of just going by the wayside, a lot of people get discouraged. I think business owners in general thinking that it always comes down to the dollar for every single person. And I just don't think we believe that's totally true. We believe there's still a niche market out there of people who really care about quality. They care about integrity. They're looking for people to partner with, to hire, to service their house, their business, their car, whatever it may be, who are actually going to help them and people they can grow in relationship with, trust, and build that, a database of service providers that you could actually recommend. But that's really kind of started to shape our philosophy. We want to be problem solvers. We want to be people that can help take the stress and the hassle out of your day. So that's really kind of developed and shaped our sales strategy, our marketing, everything from start to finish on a job. And what we found out over the last almost 6 years is that it's really worked well for us and has helped grow our business, not just financially, but reputationally. And so how many 5-star reviews we have now?
So overall, I think we're almost at 200 overall. Google alone is about 165, and then between everything else, we're about somewhere have to be 180, 190.
I know that those, at the beginning, it seems like we had very, very few reviews the first couple of years because we were so focused on just kind of getting the job done, learning the procedures involved. And we were focused on customer service, but it definitely wasn't the main thing. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And
so figuring out how to do a job.
Right. Just kind of figuring out how to do a job. And I mean, thank God people had patience with us those first couple of years. And I just want to encourage the contractors out there, if you're really just starting out, no matter what the field is that you're in, if it's a service-based business, which if you're a business owner, you're providing a service to somebody, you really kind of have to just weather that storm of the first year or two of just kind of getting good at what you do. But one thing that can't suffer from the beginning is really just attention to detail as far as customer service goes. And so I don't think we ever were really not focused on that, but it definitely wasn't where we're at the level with it now. So I think what we've kind of learned over the few years is that, some of the reoccurring contracts that we have, people who recommended us out are people that it wasn't just like great service that we provided at that time, but it was everything from that first phone call, the call back to the professional estimates, to, showing up on time, to following up with them when it was done, and then figuring out a way with that unique individual, that unique customer, on kind of what their biggest issue was. What were we showing up to solve? And so it's really kind of shifting that mentality from a service provider to a problem solver. And I think that's kind of where the no hassle thing kind of started to grow for us. So, James here is our primary sales guy. Or what's another word for that? Sales guy is so old school.
Yeah, sales regional manager.
Yeah, we could puff that up a little bit, but really he's more than that because he's not out there just selling jobs. We're out there building relationships.
Right.
And I'm primarily in the field doing the jobs, but it really is a team effort to be able to bring that no hassle service to a customer. I mean, I can't, if they don't trust you, then they're going to have a hard time trusting me when I show up to do the job. If I don't continue to deliver that 5-star service, level of quality while I'm there, then they start to question, man, did James really, when you told them this is what we're going to do, was he telling me the truth? And so really a team effort, for us to be able to deliver that quality service, that no hassle service, and when we do it right, what we found out as business owners, it does bring value to the service as far as the bottom line, what people are willing to pay, what they're willing to invest. Because I don't know, myself personally, I mean, the bottom dollar amount isn't always the deciding factor on every single purchase that I make. Now, it is on some things. And so, I believe that there is, like I said, there's still a huge market for people who want to know who they're doing business with, what they're about, what their morals are, how they're rated online, what other people have to say about them. For the homeowner or for the person looking to hire a contractor, I think the focus of this podcast and future podcasts is really going to be to help both sides of the fence. We're not here to just talk about how to build your sales and, how to gain a huge following online, but really kind of trying to bridge that gap between consumer and provider. Because I believe one of the biggest things that I've learned as a business owner, I mean, in my life, I've owned a business before, and now with this one, is that the best type of negotiation is where both sides win. And so I think if we kind of start to really think that way, like we're out to actually help the other side, whether it's the customer or a vendor that we're using, we want to help everybody win in this, where everybody comes out feeling like they've gotten the maximum value out of, what that situation provides. On a sales level or marketing level, how has kind of your mindset shifted over the last 5 years from, us just, and the basics are always there. We're always going door to door or doing those kinds of things. But when it comes to just dealing with people face to face, in-person estimate type of thing.
I think what you're saying, relationships, I think understanding that you're building a relationship, that you got to be an altruistic person. You can't be inward all the time. So, you can't just be the guy that shows up and says, oh, it's going to cost this amount, and here's what I'm going to do, and walk away. Like they want value. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you're going to offer, what you're about, and really just get in detail with those things. So I think over the last 5 years, just developing that, like, okay, here's what we do, here's how we do it, but getting detailed with it and being able to break that down where it's understandable. Like, here's our steps, here's how we're going to offer this to you, and here's the value behind it. And so not only is our service valuable, that we're going to give you a 5-star service, we're going to give you a no hassle service, that we're going to make it worth every penny you spend, but then also the relationship behind it. Like, hey, after you're done with us, you're never going to call another exterior cleaning company again. We're going to keep up with you. We're going to be your go-to guys. You're going to want to recommend us, and you're going to want to use us from here on out, whether it's your windows, your house, your roof, all that good stuff. We're your guys.
Right. And so what would you say percentage-wise, I mean, or a scale of 1 to 10, people that you deal with, in-person estimates that you're quoting, who, are looking for a no-hassle service, a value over just the bottom dollar amount? Is there a percentage out there?
I want to say every out of 10 people, 8 people are. Okay. It's high. Now, where that slightly changes is because sometimes it does come down to the dollar amount, because, we do a lot of proposals where I get told all the time, hey, I like you, I wish I could go with you. It's just, I found this guy that's half your price. Now we know how that works out, because the guy that's doing it for that dirt cheap, how long will he stay in business? I don't know. But, so that does kind of happen. So I want to say it's a high number that want it. I'd say it's like maybe even 9 out of 10 people. Now, when you're actually crunching numbers sometimes, especially with the lower class, middle class people, does that kind of drop a little bit. We've even found it in the richer class too, where sometimes they'd rather go with the number. So I think 9 to 8 out of 10 people want it. And then I think when it actually does play a factor money wise, it does maybe shrink a little bit when they really look at the numbers to maybe 6, 7 out of 10. So it does shrink it a little bit. But for the most part, most people, that's what they want. There's very few people that are just like, fly by night, just shoot me a cheap price and come out and do the job, and that's it.
Right. And so for the other contractors out there who are listening, That's just the reality of it, that, we kind of, as business owners, as people that are providing services, have to make a decision at some point. Are we going to be, you know, trying to compete with every lower price bid out there, or are we going to kind of stick to our guns, raise the standard, and really try to be that quality, no hassle service in our area? Every once in a while, like you said, it gets kind of tricky because, we don't always get every estimate that we put out,
Right.
and some months are better than others. But I think long term, if you really want to grow a successful business that's going to last, and a lot of people grow businesses these days to flip them. That's not necessarily our goal. But if you wanted to do something like that, you've got to have the reputation behind it. And I've found personally, just over my life, using, I remember when I was a teenager, there was this mechanic, who was on the other side of the tracks called Mr. Brown. And he was an older gentleman that would do car work, dirt cheap. And, he would put the sticker, on your car, even when it didn't pass the inspection, for a couple extra bucks. He was just kind of that guy that he gave the value, but the work was questionable. And here's the thing about Mr. Brown is, after a few years, he was no longer in business. I don't know if he got caught or whatever, but it's tough. Then you had on the other side of town, my grandfather, who owned a restaurant in the town where I'm from, Rosenberg, outside of Houston, for about 30 years, who provided a quality place with reasonable pricing. And of course, as time went on, things had to go up with inflation and all that, but was able to leverage that restaurant into opening a furniture store, various apartment buildings. Eventually, when he retired, he kind of passed the property on to my uncle, who now has a restaurant there in that place. But the reputation of the original restaurant has never faded from the community because he was known as a quality place. But that took time to build. And so I think that's where we got to ask ourselves as business owners: are we willing to put in that time, or are we going to try to fight for every single dollar amount that's out, or every dollar that's out there? And so I think there's a middle ground, though. We've got to be, we've got to actually bring the value if we're going to charge the price. And I think that's something that, I go back to our first couple of years in business, and James and I probably had a lot of back and forth those first couple of years over pricing. Now, I, at that time, did the majority of the pricing, majority of the quotes. And, I'll just admit it flat out. I was just a total pushover. I'm a big softie when it comes down to it. I just couldn't say no to some old lady that said, "Hey, could you take $50 off?" I'm like, "Sure, yeah, we could do that. We may not be able to put gas next week in the truck, but we'll take the $50 off for you." I know that was some of my weaknesses in the beginning, but at the same time, I didn't have the confidence or the knowledge or the skill to really demand a higher price. And so it was tough to go up to, a property and quote, a house wash for $1,000 when, we didn't really have the skills to back up that $1,000 price. And so some things really just take time, and people understand that. I think where we can make up some of that ground as providers, as service providers, when you kind of lack the experience, when you lack some of the confidence, is to just be honest with people. Like, "Hey, I'm growing, I'm starting out, really trying to grow this. And if you can't get the price or the dollar amount that you think you need or that you want, then try to leverage it for a Google review. Try to leverage it for a reference, And so there's other ways to grow your business other than just the dollar amounts that are coming in. That was something that we probably should have focused a little bit more on at the beginning, but we were really kind of stuck on just trying to get a certain dollar amount, where as time went on, we began to do those things. And like I said, the relationships began to form. People began to refer us out more. We've had several customers who, because we live in the New Orleans area and it's a huge tourist town, people who own property here but don't even live in the city or the state, but because they trust us and they know us, they just say, "Hey, go out and take care of this property for me, and we'll pay online, or we'll mail in a check." And so those are valuable relationships that, as business owners, you have to start establishing those if you really want to be in it for the long haul. And then on the flip side, for the consumer, like I said, being that problem solver, we specialize in exterior cleaning, which is pressure washing, soft washing, cleaning the exteriors of buildings, roofs, to the concrete. If it's outside, we can clean it. We'll try, stain removal, hot water, gum, removing gum, all that stuff. But to really kind of, accentuate the no hassle side of our philosophy of our business, there have been times where we've kind of branched out and done favors for people. People that we've had relationships with that said, hey, could you just remove some wood from my backyard while you guys are back there? Normally we wouldn't do that, but hey, we're going to provide the service for a genuine customer that knows who we are. Yeah, we'll do it. I think part of the no hassle philosophy really for us too is just making it easy on the customer. In a day and age where most people have to work 2 jobs, they're trying to pick the kids up from school. They're trying to get all this stuff done, go to the grocery store. I mean, the last thing they want is to have to question what time you're going to be on the job, who's going to show up, what condition is that person going to be in, and are they going to damage anything when they're on my property? That really has become that foundation of the no hassle service for us. If we can take some of those concerns and those fears away from people, and it just makes the whole transaction, the whole process so much better. I guess kind of just talk a little bit more about, how you relate that to people. Like, what are the biggest things that you say as a marketing guy, as a sales guy, when you're on a job site with people? What are their primary concerns as consumers?
Yeah, I would think property protection, right, is big. So how are you going to, for us, so we clean property. So how are you going to clean the property? What are you using on my property? Is it going to damage anything? And how are you going to protect and cover those things? So, whether you're the construction guy that's going to be marching through their rooms to go change out the bathroom, or you're the window cleaner that, got to bring a ladder in the house to clean the interior window, how are you going to do that without damaging things? So what are those things? And it could be really small things that we take for granted, but to them is a big deal. So,
Right.
Like for us, it's, hey, we park our trucks on the side of the street. We don't even get on your driveway. Reason for that is because all of our equipment's built into our truck, and we don't ever want to risk any oil or something spilling off our truck or off of our equipment into your driveway and leaving a stain behind, right? In fact, we get called all the time to clean oil stains from another serviceman, pulled their truck in the driveway, it leaked, now it left a mess, and now the customer's upset. So hey,
Right.
we just avoid all that together. For us, with our protection, when we're washing, electrical is a big deal. So we tape all of our electrical. So there's no chance or concern of that happening. If we do go inside the house, let's say like with a ladder, hey, we're going to put padding down, towels on the ground or some sort of padding. So that way our, the ladder footing isn't going to scrape up your floors. Or even when we set it up against something, we wrap it and put padding on that as well. Little things. Hey, we're going to wear little boot covers when we're going in. We're just going to take our shoes off altogether so you don't have to worry about mud getting on your rug. So like all those little things matter to them. And what it shows is that you care and you care about the details. And so that's kind of the first step is the protection, the property, taking care of your property, along with how you're going to do the job. And then I would also say how you conduct yourself, how you talk, your body language, what you're wearing, says a big deal. If you show up with holes in your shoes, messed up shirt, or, cut tank top and your hair's all crazy, like that's immediately a bad look. That's not confidence. They're like, I don't know about that. Now you show up in a professional, a uniform. So, for us, we have our all things services shirt. I mean, this makes a big deal just to be uniformed. And we have a certain pant code, we have our shoe code, and then just looking clean shaven and look clean. That's
Trimmed up. We're not
Trimmed up,
exactly
yeah.
shaving.
Yeah, sorry. Trimmed up. There we go. And then, so not only does that say a lot, but then also how we speak, because
Right.
I don't know about you, but like if somebody walks up to my door and just starts dropping curse words and just doesn't know how to talk properly, you're done right there.
Right,
Like,
totally.
I'm sending you home. You're not coming in where my wife and my kids are. Like I expect you to be respectful and be able to speak correctly. And so when you show up and you're able to do those things, be respectful, know what you're talking about too. And I think another thing is just being the professional. So everybody, if you're in the service industry, you got to be a professional. So if you're the window guy, you're a professional window cleaner. For us, we're exterior cleaners. We're professional exterior cleaners. A construction guy, you're a professional construction person. You're the professional. So you're there to educate them, show them. And not only the professional, you got to act the professional. You got to look, you got to talk, you got to be the professional. And then that kind of leads into being the expert. You're the expert, always remember that. So even if you've only been doing your service industry for a year, you're the expert. I'm sure you know a lot more within that year. You've learned a lot more than the average homeowner is going to know. And so just being that expert and being confident with that.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's really a start to finish thing, and there really is no small detail when it comes to providing a no hassle service or an excellent 5-star service. If your goal is to get a 5-star review, then there really is almost nothing a customer could ask you that's not outside of your responsibility. And so what I mean by that is even if it's something that you can't provide or do at that moment, you have to have an answer. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We're there to bring ease to the customer, even if it puts us, in a spot where we have to kind of think on the fly. And so we've, been on jobs before where, somebody, I mean, I've had this happen several times where they said, we're there to clean or wash a property. And like, oh, hey, by the way, could you grab this Christmas tree, an old lady, out of the attic for me, and I'm like, well, you know what? Like, I don't, I'm wet. I've been working outside. I don't want to go in the house. I mean, now I got to, but I'm thinking I can make this happen for her. 5 minutes to go in there and help this elderly lady take a tree out of her attic. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, she's telling Ethel over at the bingo hall, how nice these boys were that came to her house. And so you have to be, careful. Or sometimes people ask us questions about things that we don't have a clue with. They assume because we're exterior cleaners that we have all this roofing knowledge or we're construction guys. And that's not necessarily the case. Now we have some knowledge. And so what I do, what happened at the beginning when I just wasn't confident in those things, I'd kind of just avoid or try to deflect. But now, because we've built relationships with other people and we've acquired some just confidence in who we are, I'm able to answer those questions with, hey, I don't totally know the answer to that, but let me call James because he talks to a lot of people when he's out and about. He may have somebody on his list that we could refer who could help you with fill in the blank. And so it's really just being that problem solver and bringing a confidence to that situation that you're a professional, like you said. We live in a day and age, you're talking about uniform and appearance, where that's kind of debatable these days. I mean, just take, for example, Chick-fil-A, that prior to COVID, it was straight-laced and, very buttoned-up kind of look. And then COVID hit and they can't get people to come back to work. And what happens? I mean, now you got folks with tattoos and nose rings and all those things. And I mean, we're not harping on those things. I'm just saying people have had to modify their game plan because of today's culture. But it doesn't mean that us as a business or you as a consumer have to lower your standard.
Right.
And so we get to really set that tone. And we personally believe that if somebody, like James said, is going to show up on your property, I want to know that person's kind of put together. I mean, we both worked in pest control for a few years, and that was a pretty rough industry. They were literally happy just to have guys show up on a Monday, even if they came stumbling in, still smelling like the racetrack or the casino from the weekend before. And but that's not how we roll. It's not how we're going to run our business. And so we want to be attentive when we're there. We want to be, number one, on time. Those are things that we can usually control. Being on time and being in uniform and being respectful. Those are three huge things that really bring a confidence and ease to a customer when we're stepping foot onto their property. Yep. And then James really talked about just kind of protection, plant and property protection. Now, once again, in our industry, this is a debatable topic. There's companies out there, there's guys out there who don't put a lot of time and effort into that, to protecting the property because they say it slows down their production. I was on a Facebook group yesterday and I saw one guy that we're both familiar with in another area outside of this state who literally did 5 roof cleanings yesterday. To us, it's mind-boggling because of the time and effort we put in just to protecting one property to make sure that the solution that we're applying, number one, does what it's supposed to do, but we can kind of control and monitor where it's going to go and what's going to happen to it once we leave that property.
Right.
These are things that have really shaped and molded our business. Now, to some people, they see an extreme value in that. Other people might be focused on the dollar amount, but nonetheless, we get to set that tone. And like I said, in the long run, when we're looking at the longevity of our business, we're looking at the reputation, the integrity of the business, that to us is worth its weight in gold, even if we don't get a ton of return on it now in the short term. And so, yeah, I feel the same way as a consumer, as people. We go out to eat, we frequent places in this area, and customer service is lacking. It is lacking. Man, if we have a little bit of extra cash to spend and we decide we want to go out to eat, it's a pretty short list of places that we're choosing from, even if we desire a certain type of food, just because the service is so bad.
Right.
We want to continue to invest in that. I think as we continue to really kind of grow this and talk more about all the little facets of what it means to take the hassle out of somebody's day or life. It's not only just the practical things for us, and I just kind of want to let people into this segment of our lives as well. There's a spiritual application as well. And so not only are we business owners here, and we're live here from our All Things Services headquarters in Gretna, Louisiana. You might be able to hear some white noise and traffic passing in the background because we're literally in the shop garage. Just set the camera up and trying to do the podcast here. This is what we have. This is real. This is on the boots on the ground kind of stuff. But the other side to who we are, which has really shaped our business motto, is the fact that I'm a pastor outside of here. James is I'm at the very least an up and coming pastor. He's also a minister. He's a guy that's well versed in the scriptures, and we serve the Lord. We serve Jesus, and we believe that that we have a standard that has been raised in our life because of the spiritual side, because of what the Lord has done for us. And we take those biblical principles and we apply them to our life. Now, if you're listening to this show and you're not a Christian, you're not a believer, then you're probably not going to get much out of that. Right. But if you're somebody who understands that what the Bible tells us, that, don't be fooled, God's not going to be mocked. Whatever you sow is what you're going to reap. You see that principle play out all over the world, whether people believe in God or not. And so that's really the undergirding of the no hassle philosophy, is the reality that we are held to a higher standard, that the Lord ultimately, requires us to love others as we love ourselves, to a kind word turns away wrath. This is what the Bible tells us. So when we're out on the job, I'm constantly meditating on the principles of the Bible to keep myself from just reacting a way that, you typically act if you were just going out of just frustration from a long, hot day, or a customer that, somehow now is being short with you or trying to demand you to do all these other things. And I just said, man, and I kind of think about those old wristbands that were popular in the early 2000s or late 90s, the WWJD. People probably remember seeing those around, the What Would Jesus Do wristbands. And so they were popular. People would wear them. And, the idea was is when you're confronted with an issue of life, or, you'd kind of have that band to remind you, well, what would Jesus do in this situation? And so essentially that's really what has shaped our business, our service motto, the no hassle service, is, what would Jesus do, in this situation? How would he treat this person? How would he desire us to treat this person? So as we kind of grow this and go into future podcasts, you're probably going to hear a lot of spiritual related things, a lot of biblical related things.
I think it'd be fun. Look forward to the future of doing these. Like I said, some of it's going to be towards the homeowner, helping them how to choose a service person, how to do some simple maintenance on their house. And then some of it's going to be towards, like I said, the service industry. So, how can, lessons we've learned over 6 years, what can we do to help you get a head step, dodge some of our mistakes,
right?
Many of them we made. And then at the same time, really the basis of this is the foundation of the Bible,
right?
The no hassle service, being service. We use this slogan all the time. Hey, we're here to serve you. We get that just like Jesus came to serve and gave his life as our instrument. It's the same way, we apply that in our, all things services. We're all things to all men. So
right.
All of our foundations based off of that.
That's right. It's even in the name. And so if you found something, if you got something out of this, please give it a thumbs up or a 5-star review wherever the podcast format that you're using is available. And check us out here on YouTube. We'll be back with more content as time permits. Remember that there's a lot of people doing good work, but great work is in the details. God bless.